Hi, it's Kevin Bates here, and today I'm going to tackle a rather tricky subject because it raises a lot of problems with a lot of people, and the subject that I'm going to deal with is patent trolls. So let's back up a bit and just quickly review what a patent actually is. So a patent is a deal between a government and an inventor, whereby the inventor discloses everything about their invention, and in return the government gives the inventor the right to sue people who infringe on the patent, that is, use the invention without permission, in order to seek damages. So I kind of see patents as being the equivalent of land ownership in a way, in that you're owning a piece of intellectual land and then you can either use it yourself or you can rent it out to other people who are interested in using it. However, just as there are plenty of indigenous peoples out there who frown upon the concept that we have in the West of land ownership, there are lots of people out there in the software world in particular who frown on the concept of owning intellectual property, effectively intellectual land. And they do have somewhat of a point. However, on the flip side, the idea is that by making this deal with the inventors of new things, they get put out there in the open. So you avoid the situation where you have a trade secret, which the person who's discovered it keeps secret, and therefore innovation is stifled. There's not communication, discussion, there's not a chance to advance it. And this happened way back in the past when a doctor invented the forceps for birth deliveries, and it was kept secret for 3 generations in that family, to the detriment of the rest of society for about 90 years. So anyway, that's a quick summary of what patents are and what they're for. Now, I said I was going to talk about patent trolls, and there are a number of different definitions of this term. It is obviously a pejorative term, it's a negative term. My take on a patent troll is that a patent troll is a corporation that acquires a patent and then solely uses it in order to put unfair or excessive pressure on other parties to pay up. So it feels to me as an inventor like an abuse of the invention. Patent trolls don't actually care about the underlying invention. They just want to get as much money out of as many parties as they can. And so a patent troll will buy a patent that they see as having value, or possibly one that they think they can argue, but maybe it doesn't, and may send out tens or hundreds of thousands of letters demanding royalties, on the idea that, you know, if 1 in 100 pays up, they're going to make a nice healthy income out of it. Now, this kind of behavior obviously is not going to advance human knowledge or advance our inventions in any kind of way. It is destructive. However, patent troll falls at the extreme of one end of a spectrum. I mean, at the other end, you have an inventor who comes up with an idea, patents it, starts a company, hires people, and builds that invention and then sells it on the market. And I think very few people would say that their having a patent is unfair. But there is this grey area in the middle. So, for example, some people talk about NPEs, or non-practicing entities. And when you look at non-practicing entities, these are companies that have an invention, they have no intention of making it themselves, but they do license it out to other people so that they can go and make it. There you start moving towards the patent troll area. And it depends on how aggressive the NPE is about getting license fees. So there are plenty of software and hardware companies out there in the tech space that qualify as NPEs. They hold a clutch of patents, they have invented something, but they don't make it themselves. They license out the architecture of their software or their hardware or their standards to other companies in order to implement it. So, for example, the Cambridge semiconductor company ARM invented the RISC ARM processor, and you find them in almost every single phone on the planet. And they don't make these chips, they don't have a big foundry in China where these chips are being churned out all the time. They license the architecture out to other companies, such as, for example, Huawei or Qualcomm or Samsung or whoever, to actually build these chips and put them in their devices. And I don't see ARM as a patent troll, but there will be some people out there who do. There is another thing that you can do with a patent, which is if you have enough clout, you can get the invention embodied in the patent put into a standard. And there I think you start hitting problems, because if you have a standard for something like, say, 4G or Wi-Fi or whatever, then in order for all our devices to be able to intercommunicate, that standard needs to be implemented. And now you have a situation where a company may have an unfair advantage, and there you would be moving from a reasonable NPE into more towards the patent troll stage again, in that you're starting to be able to put unfair pressure on your competition or on other parties. Maybe they're not even competition, just other parties who want to use that invention and are willing to pay but do not want to pay unfair amounts. And so there are all sorts of things that are done. These are called standard essential patents, these kind of patents. There are all sorts of things in place to try and make sure that these patents are licensed in a fair and reasonable manner. So where do I fall in this? Well, I'm an individual inventor. There's just me sitting at home at my computer, trying out things in software and thinking of ideas. And as an inventor, with a family, I have to have some kind of income in order to be able to feed them. And one of the approaches I have taken is to file patents on some of my ideas, and some of them have even been granted. Now, I don't have the clout of an IBM or an Accenture or a Cisco or some company like that to go off and actually build these things and get them deployed in any kind of mass scale and make any kind of reasonable income out of it. However, as an inventor, I feel that given the time and effort I've put into building up the knowledge, and the fact that I seem to have a certain level of creativity, that deserves some kind of reward, and the patent system is there, so I use it. However, there's one thing you should note about patents, which is that they are fairly expensive to obtain, and they are very expensive to defend. So if I had a huge company behind me with a lot of financial backing, then I could go out and start acting like a very aggressive NPE. As it happens, as an individual inventor, I don't have that kind of resource behind me, so the temptation is not there. And in any case, as an inventor, I'm really passionate about the things that I invent. I would actually like to see them make it out there into the real world and actually get into the hands of people who can use them and appreciate them. So if it came down to it, if there was a choice between me selling a patent to a non-practicing entity that I saw as being more towards the patent troll end of the spectrum, or to a company that is actually intending to use and make the invention that is described in a patent that I've obtained, I would pick the latter, even if it wasn't going to be quite as profitable for me. But of course, I'm a human being, and I do have my family to look after, so I'm not going to be looking to take peanuts for these things either, if there's the opportunity of getting pounds. So anyway, this has kind of gone all over the space. Hopefully it's given you a bit of an idea about why I invent, why I think that the system has some flaws but also has some benefits to it, and where I see myself fitting in there. If you have any questions, or if you want to query any of the things I've said in this video, please feel free to leave a comment below and I'll respond. And hopefully you found that useful or entertaining, or at least illuminating, and I'll see you in a next video soon. Bye for now.